So the big question is this: how are real estate investors who don't have a ton of free time, don't have access to off-market deals, and didn't start life on third base, how do we grow a real estate business conservatively to support our families, finally leave the corporate rat race, and build a legacy? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Ed Matthews, and this is Real Estate Underground. Hey everybody, Ed Matthews here with the Real Estate Underground. Today is a really exciting show. I am joined by Lucas Hauer of Basil Holdings out in Phoenix, and I've been dying to talk with him for a while now. I've been following him online, and I've been wanting to talk to him because he used to work for a guy named Tony Robbins. So we're going to definitely get into that. But also, his business and our business here at Clark Street Capital look very similar, right? And so he has a wide array of asset classes that he's chasing, from wholesaling to flipping, as well as multifamily. And I'm going to make him talk about all of it today. So Lucas, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. I really appreciate you having me. And first off, thank you for doing what you're doing, right? Helping other people get into real estate, up their skills, and change their lives. So
thank you. Yeah.
Self-education and like you said, you're dying to ask me about Tony Robbins. It's the self-education space is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Absolutely,
it's
right?
People like you that I was learning from and saying, this is possible. I can do this. Yep. And without people like you, doing podcasts, YouTube videos, and just sharing your knowledge, then, I wouldn't be where I was, and a lot of people like me wouldn't be, maybe even you, right? Maybe you started in the self-education space. That's where we got to start.
The reason I do this is because I had, a half a dozen or so people that either saw something or took pity on me, one or the other. I'm really not sure, but they threw an arm around me, and, were kind of guiding me through this. And, I tell this all the time, but I think that we are all reading the same basic book. But you're probably a couple of chapters ahead of me. I'm a couple of chapters ahead of somebody else. And, we're all helping each other kind of bridge the gaps and skip all the mistakes and dumb stuff that I did to jump into, take that next step in terms of leveling up. So you have a fascinating story. And actually, the other thing that's really interesting about your business is you're based in one of the hot spots in commercial and residential real estate in the Phoenix area. And so I'd love to learn more about, your business and what you're seeing in the marketplace, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. So I'll kind of touch first off, if anybody's not familiar, Phoenix, right? It's a top 5 city in the entire nation right now. We're growing extremely fast. There's a lot of competition. There was a lot of funds buying up here during COVID. And then we just have a lot of, people like Grant Cardone, if you guys know who that is, right? A lot of these big funds that are coming and just investing the hell out of here. Yep. There was a little bit of a slowdown. Funds did kind of stop buying for, a couple months. I suspect they're going to come back in probably in the next couple months. But yeah, we're in a great market, a healthy market. A lot of people moving here. Appreciation is great. Cash flow is great if you can get the right asset class in the right location. But obviously it comes with, the sellers know that. So sometimes your price that you're paying is a little bit more than you want to. So it really comes down to, like we were talking before we started recording, how can we find those good deals, and how can we, take, kind of explain to the seller or the agent on the deal, hey, I'm looking to get that appreciation. And just because you think market rents are here, but they're not there, doesn't mean I can pay you for that, right? I'm going to force that appreciation and increase the NOI. So yeah, we're in a good, healthy market. I love it. A lot of competition, but it's all about marketing. And that's, like you said, one of the things, and I learned from Tony and Dean is marketing. So that's why I started working with them for 2 years to then implement into my own business.
Yeah. And I'm doing the same right now. Instead of working for them, I hired them as coaches. So, and I've learned a ton. I'm a way smarter now than I was a year and a half ago when I first kind of dove in, but, and we're definitely going to talk about that. But, one of the things that I want to talk about is, from a churn and how choppy the market is. The price, and we were talking about this offline as well. Pricing is a lagging indicator, right? It's we see all of these these properties throughout the Northeast and Southwest. And, we're also growing into the Midwest and Southeast, same thing there. Right. And I'm sure, I know you chase properties all over the country. The fact is that, sellers still think it's 2020, and, they acknowledge that the rents are $300, $400, $500 under market, but you can grow into that. So that's why I'm charging a premium. And, what you said really resonates with me is that, that revenue, that NOI is yours as the buyer. It's not the seller's, right?
Mhm.
And so, you're buying a business here. And, the fact is that the business is worth what it's producing today, not 18 months from now.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And that's a huge, challenge in finding deals that pencil out and work. Right.
Mhm. Yeah, and I get it. It's so interesting. I always like to put myself in seller's shoes. It's like, I get it. I sell assets too. I'm a fix and flipper. We're eventually going to sell some of our multifamily. But the main goal is to always buy, hold it, and keep keep as long as you can. But I get it. People want the most, and the most they can get, right? Like, I get it, right? But like you said, I mean, you just can't go off of, hey, well, okay, here, market rents are here. And like you said, right, you can't go off of the future. This is what it's worth today. This is what it's producing. This is the NOI. That's how I'm underwriting the deal. That's how anyone's going to underwrite the deal.
Right.
So it's a good point, and it's something that, you have to talk to the seller or talk to the agent and just explain to them. And you have to be, I'm not in this business to lose money. If I'm going to go
Right.
raise money at a 6% pref or do an 80-20, just, straight down the line, I need it to pencil, and I need it to make sense. And a lot of what I'm banking is the future appreciation that I'm forcing,
Right.
not today. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm also in the business to actually make money. And, if I wasn't interested in making money, I'd go to Saratoga and bet the ponies. Right.
yeah,
It's probably as exciting or more exciting, and, you lose your money faster, but,
yeah, exactly.
just get it over with. But, yeah, the thing that really is interesting about your business, and I'm fascinated by, is, you have kind of brought a relationship building, a relationship building model in terms of how you interact and introduce yourselves to realtors and brokers in the markets you're targeting. But you also, having studied at the foot of the masters, right, you bring a massive amount of digital and real world marketing skills that you also apply to the business. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So first off, I couldn't do any of it with my business partner, Kyle. So Kyle is like the brains of like the operation systems and all that jazz. So I'm not that good at that at all.
Right.
I don't enjoy it. He loves it. But for me, I'm more like, hey, here's my idea. How can we make it work? And he's like, oh, dude, boom, 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 boom. Right. And it's in place. But a lot of what we took advantage of early on was just kind of like digital marketing, like you're saying, right? And I knew that if we really wanted to just accelerate extremely fast, the way to do that is through, online presence, right? The old days were, hey, you talk on the phone, you go get lunch, and it's, I mean, you can only meet so many people in a day when you're going, taking them to lunch, introducing yourself.
Yep.
So what we took the approach is we're like, hey, we have an agent list of 40,000 people all in the Valley. Let's send them a text. Hey, I'm a local investor. My name is Lucas. We're looking for some more on or off market properties. Would love to have you represent us. Right. So we also not only came at it as a sense of, hey, just help me. Right. I want to help you grow your business. I want to have you represent me, and I want you to win with me. Right. So we came at it as an approach of how can we reach the most people, for kind of it was relatively cheap, when you look at how much it is per text message. The list we had, and we have every agent in the entire United States, but it cost us a couple grand to get access to that. So we're talking, maybe an upfront investment of a couple thousand to send all these messages. And obviously, over the months, sometimes now we're spending $2, $4, $5 a month, but we took the approach of, hey, let's send out a cold message and let's approach all 40,000. They'll call in, we'll still talk to them. We'll get on the phone with them. I'll still go to lunches, but how can we first off provide value so they're like, hey, okay, this person isn't just asking for off-market deals, right? And, oh, this guy's going to screw me over. It's like, hey, I want to win with you. I'm an investor. Bring me a deal. You'll represent me. We'll all win together.
Right.
Now, granted, sure, I would say 80% of those 40,000 were, hey, stop, opt out, not interested,
Sure.
already have my
Numbers
investment.
game.
It's a numbers game. But 40,000, 20% of 40,000, it's
It's
a
a
hell of a
million
lot
grand.
more. You can't
Right.
reach that amount of people, in 10 years of going, hopping on the phone, going to lunch, hopping on the phone, going to lunch.
Right.
It's just, so we played the numbers game, and that was the reason we were able to, just accelerate so fast in a year, and just over a year.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on that. Yeah. I mean, having been a techie for, the first 100 years of my life, the fact is that technology, if used properly, can be a force multiplier, right?
Yep.
I mean, we're a teeny tiny company. We're 7 people, and there's only 3 of us that are market facing. The rest are supporting our residents.
Mhm.
And the fact is, and I think you're a similarly sized company. You might be a little bigger, but similarly sized company. And, to be able to reach out to, in our world, it's, 4,500 single family homes in Connecticut that we target. There's 1,208 buildings in multifamily buildings that we're targeting here in Connecticut. You can't dial the phone fast enough to be able to make that worthwhile. Right. And so just being able to use technology and digital marketing as well as real world marketing, frankly. I mean, we're a big fan of direct mail.
Yeah.
Still, that there's no way any of us could grow as fast just buying people, shaking hands and buying cups of coffee for people, right? It's just not
And I
possible.
do want to touch briefly because there is a very important factor of meeting with people and hopping on the phone with people, right? So I don't want to discredit, the old way of building relationships. It's a great way to build relationships. But what I've found is really hopping on the phone, sending out that cold message, right? Maybe only 10, 20% reply.
Right.
But right when somebody shows interest, I dial them up. I'm on the phone.
Right.
Right. So I can hop on the phone with 20, 30, 40, 50 agents in a day, give my elevator pitch. Hey, I'm Lucas. I'm an investor here in the Valley looking for multifamily and single family distressed assets. Let me send you an email with some of the criteria I look for. They send me their email. I send them an email with what I look for. Boom, relationship built. I set them up on automatic follow-up. So in a month up, hey, it's Lucas again. Just want to see if any properties. So it's, the important part is that first point of contact. I don't just like, hey, okay, they send me a message, I'm interested. Hey, great, awesome. Let me send you an email. I like to get on the phone with them. I like to let them know, hey, I'm a real person.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes, the older people are like, hey, let's go get lunch. And there are times, rarely, but I will go to lunch. I mean, there was an agent who called me. She texted me yesterday. It's an off-market property. I've never met her in person. She sends me a deal. I said, hey, I love the deal. Let's go out there. Can you set an appointment up today at 11:30?
Yep.
We're going out there. I've never person. It'll be the first time I meet her, but we already have that over the phone relationship. She feels like she knows me. She'll meet me, in person. I'll be the same person that I was on the phone. But there is some truth to going out and meeting them in person. But at the same time, you can do a lot with a phone call. And I don't know if Ed, you feel the same way, but a phone call does wonders. I mean, that is the way to do it. Don't just text them, hop on the phone with them, introduce yourself, let them know you're a real person. And that's that extra little layer of why I think it works so well with the cold message paired with the phone call, paired with the follow-up.
I 100% agree. I mean, the fact is that you've got, it's a funnel, right? And, you're going to pour your message into the top of that funnel, and you're going to, frankly, piss off 5-8% of them, right? And as Dan Sullivan, said way back when, if you haven't pissed off, enough people, a bunch of people by noon on Monday, you're really not doing your job, right? Yeah. And that's absolutely true, right? And that's okay. They're not a good fit, and that's fine. They go off the list, and let's keep going, right? And so you want to kind of cull it down to that manageable list of, I don't know, 5, 10, 15, agents or realtors or brokers in a particular market that you can then become friends with, right? Yep. And start to help them grow their business. They'll in turn help you grow your business, and the rising tide, right?
Exactly. No,
so,
that's a good point.
One of the other things that you said, and I want to clarify it, is that, your company spends, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month, right? But, I'm curious about, your view on return on that money, right? If you're spending, because some of our audience members may look, oh my God, I barely have money to scrape together to go buy one property. I don't have
Mhm.
$2,000 a month to go get to do marketing. The thing is that you don't start at $2,000, right? You start
Yep.
at 50 or $100. You
Yep.
get a deal, you take the capital from that deal and you build, right?
Mm.
And then you take and then you build, you find multiple deals, you take the capital from that, you build again, right? And so, you build up to where you are. It doesn't start overnight. I mean, I'm just curious what your budget was, say, a year ago versus today, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's different because when I was in the industry that I was in before what I'm doing now with Dean and Tony,
Mhm.
I knew that I had to put money into marketing. So I saved money. I was a big saver. I had the whole plan of how I was going to save money, start a business, and then be mega wealthy, right? Like everybody has that vision, right? So
Sure.
I tried to implement that, and we saved money to do that. But here's the thing: even if you were starting with zero, you don't have to do what we're doing and spend all money on marketing. What you could do, go on Zillow, go see the properties that are listed that are in, even if they're in good shape, freaking hammer the phone. Those are agents
Yep.
who are actively doing deals. They have deals because obviously they're listing one on the market.
Yep.
They're gonna probably do more deals in the future.
Yep.
You don't have to spend money on marketing like we do. I just am like a big thing on my time. I'm like, hey, I want leads
Right.
coming to me. I don't have to go after the leads. But if I was starting over, and I have friends who did this and grew into a 100K a month company by literally just hammering the phone, calling 50 to 100 agents together, right? So 50
Right.
agents each a day.
Right.
Hey, same pitch, right? Hey, I'm Lucas. I'm an investor in the Valley looking for more. I see your property on this. I don't think it's the right fit for me. It's a little bit too nice a shape. I'm looking for something more distressed. If you come across anything like that, I'd love for you to reach out. Can I send you an email with some of the things I look for? So you don't have to be the one where, spend all the money for the leads to come to you. You can just reverse engineer it, go on Zillow, go on, if you're in multifamily, go look at a list of brokers and just call those brokers.
Right.
And you can be the one, instead of them calling you because they saw your message, you just call them, introduce yourself, and build out your pipeline that way with $0, just
Right.
time. So, you just have to reverse engineer it. For us, I just kind of figured, hey, I just want to, let's spend some money on it. And it was small at first. I mean, $1,000. The only reason we're spending 2,000 to 5,000 a month now is because we also are selling properties, and every message is 1 cent. But I mean, you think about that, 1 cent for $5,000, I can send, what is that, 50,000
Right.
messages. Actually more. No, I can send like 500,000 messages
Right.
for $5,000.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just the scale factor. But if you're bootstrapping it, hop on the phone, freaking call agents that have properties on market and build relationships that way.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. Yeah. I mean, it's a building process, right? And you just have to think that through and know that with every dollar that comes in, and depending on how fast you want to grow, right? Because at some point you're gonna have to staff up as well. But you've got to think about, every dollar that comes in from a wholesale deal or a flip or even, rental money, how much of that is it 5 cents? Is it 10 cents? Is it 25 cents? Of that money comes in, what are you going to do with it in terms of, marketing to continue to grow your business, right?
Yeah. And one thing I do want to touch on briefly is, even when we did start that marketing campaign, so we've been in business a year and a half. The
Yep.
first 5.5, 6 months, 0 deals,
Right.
from an average of 1 to 2,000. It's nothing crazy, right? Maybe 5 to 1,000, because it was really just inbounds, outbound
Right.
stuff to agents. So it was kind of minimal, but 0 deals for literally the first 5 to 6 months.
Right.
The next month, all of the pipeline that I was building, all the agents I was reaching out to, the 20, 30, 40, 50 a day that I was building the pipeline. At that point, I had, 800 contacts, 800 opportunities, we call them.
Yep.
That next month, we did 7 deals and did over 6 figures that next month.
Wow.
So it's
Congratulations.
like
That's
you
phenomenal.
just put in the work, and that's the big thing too. But there's so many people in this industry that want it now, want it now, want it
Right.
now. I was like, dude, I'm just gonna keep risking it. I would have done it for a couple of years, or I don't know how long I could have lasted, because I was about on my last dime saved.
Right.
But
Yeah. There's an economic reality, but
exactly. I
nevertheless.
mean, it took me 6 months to get a deal, and
Right.
But like I said, if you're not putting money in that sense, just hammer the phones, build relationships, and you can even start part-time, do your job and still continue to hammer the phones, build relationships and just get the ball rolling in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is you can return in 30 minutes, over your Rice Krispies and coffee in the morning. You can call 5 agents because 4 of them aren't going to pick up because they're dropping their kids at school or they're in another meeting or whatever.
Mhm.
And, do that every day. That's 25 people that you've called every week
Yep.
times 50, right? I mean, it adds up quick.
Yep.
And you only need that one deal to then give you budget to start to, add texting capability, voicemail drops, an email management system, constant contact, something like that, right?
For sure.
And so, yeah, you couldn't be more correct. So, one thing I usually ask early on, but I'm fascinated by your business and I have a lot of respect for how fast you're growing. And I love the way your brain works, to be honest. What drew you to real estate? Because obviously you've done a few different things, in terms of the service and coaching business, and now you're in real estate, which I would submit is also a service oriented business. But, what drew you to real estate?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of simple. I always was trying different things, right? In the digital marketing space, I tried a bunch of digital products, was trying to sell and market. I had a lot of friends in that space and I was trying to, do funnels and sell, books or a course or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And I just slowly found, I'm like, it's just not exciting. It's the same thing. I build a funnel, I try to market it, and then I sell that product and you hope it takes off.
Right.
And I just was never really fascinated. I was like, it's not really a business I want to get into. My parents were in real estate. My grandpa was in real estate. I'm like, I kind of like this. My grandpa had a pretty good real estate business, where he was just an investor. His main business was printing way back in the day.
Okay.
But, I was like, okay, hey, this is a way where I can not only, because there's so many different industries inside real estate, which I think is really interesting, right? Like I was saying, I do wholesale, I do fix and flips, and I do multifamily, right? So there's so many different industries inside the real estate industry where I'm like, okay, I like this because I love real estate. It's not going anywhere. Everybody needs a place to stay. It's one of those commodities that will never go away. And I'm like, well, not only that, but also I don't have to just be a fix and flipper. I don't have to just syndicate or buy multifamily myself. I can do all these different components to make money here and then make money in the fix and flip and wholesale and then put that money into my own real estate deals, also syndicate multifamily with other investors.
Right.
So I was just fascinated by how, not only the cash flow and, the appreciation and kind of the business you can build where you are 50, 60 years old, you're like, okay, hey, I'm fine. I want to enjoy my life now. I've always was interested in the aspect of how can I create financial freedom, be my own boss. And then when I want to retire, not have to worry about a 401k, retirement plan, IRA, whatever, right? And nothing wrong with it. I mean, we need employees. I honestly loved being employed for a little bit. It was less stressful. I would go to work, I'd do my job, I'd come home and I would
Payroll was somebody else's problem, right? That's
yeah,
a good
exactly. It was like, hey, the business isn't making money. They just lost 100 grand. Well, that's on them. Whatever. I'm going home. I'm getting the same paycheck.
Right.
So it's a lot less stressful. I'm not going to lie, right? I did not mind it, but I always had the dream of being my own boss and doing my own thing, and that's why I loved real estate. And I love the fact of, just like I said, I mean, being able to build a book of business and putting people in place like a management company, and down the road when you're 50, 60, you don't really have to work and you're still cash flowing and getting depreciation. And it's something where you can give to your kids and build a legacy. And just everything about real estate is exciting to me.
Yeah, it's a unique asset in that regardless of the class that you're in, right? It's such a unique asset because if you have $1,000, right, you can either go buy stock in the S&P 500, right, or a company that is in the S&P 500, and you kind of pray that the CEO knows what what they're doing, and but you can only buy for that $1,000. You can only buy $1,000 worth of stock, right?
Yep.
Real estate, you can buy 10, $5,000 or $10,000 worth of stock. For that, in terms of the asset, for the exact same amount of money, and the appreciation, a lot of it is on you, right? You can improve a property, you can upgrade electricity, you can paint it, you can upgrade the kitchens and bathrooms and landscaping and make it a beautiful place to live. And people will, yes, there's the basic Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? That you need a roof over your head, but there's also, I want to be proud of where I live, right? It's part of the American dream where owning your own home is a big chunk of I've made it in this world, right? And so there's a lot of opportunity there to force appreciation, whether it's a single family home or a multifamily property. And that's just so attractive to me that it gives you control. There's certain things that are out of your control. You can't dictate what the Fed does. You can't dictate what comps do, in the market, but you can have the nicest property, in the neighborhood and be able to charge a, teeny tiny premium, or at least top of market for that. Right.
No, those were all really good points. And like I said, the leverage is so awesome because, I mean, like you said, right, $1,000 or let's say $100,000 can buy $400,000 worth of real estate. Right. And then you also look at the sense of the depreciation factor. I have a lot of friends who make a lot of money in the e-commerce world, right? Whatever, they'll do freaking over $1 million a year. But then I'm like, okay, you're getting taxed a shit ton, like either way.
How much did you keep, buddy? Right.
Exactly. How much did you keep, right? So like say goodbye to 40-50% of that. I just had that conversation with one of my buddies. He was talking about how he's got this new offer. He's going to make XYZ.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I could do that. And then instead of me you're giving away 40-50%, you own real estate, you can depreciate it. You're going to lower your tax bracket by 30-40%. We're doing cross segregation on every unit we own right now. And this year, because it's the last year, we can do the 100%.
Right.
And it all carries over. So we'll go take out how much, however many millions it is, and then just carry that over year by year and try to deduct as much as we can. And it's, and people think it's kind of like sly. It's, they call it loopholes, but there are incentives in place because they need people like us. They need people like you. If you guys are trying to get into real estate, they want to incentivize you to support the American class, right? They need places to live, right? You're doing good for the economy. The money that goes in and out of real estate is trillions of dollars every single year, from buying and selling, from the materials that we're purchasing to update the properties, to the contractors that I'm hiring, to the people that are paying the rent, that are also paying taxes. We're paying property taxes. The money that flows in and out of real estate, everyone's looks, how did you only pay 15%, but you made this amount of money? Well, because there's incentives in place for people like you and I to want to continue to buy real estate and continue to provide places to live for people that live here in America.
Right. And the fact is that, and that's historically why, right? But, I think there's an added urgency because in 2008, a lot of people like you and me went away. It gutted the general contractor, part of the market. And so a lot of homes and apartment buildings that would have been built from back then in 2008 till, a year ago, let's say, haven't been built. In fact, the US is last I read, about 4.5 million housing units behind where they need to be. 2030. Connecticut alone is down 26,000 units. Right. And so, there's an urgency to create these home products so that people actually have a place to live. And
we're down 76,000 units.
We're so same, right?
Yeah. I mean, it rolls over. People, it's so funny. People realize so whatever, we built 70,000 units, but our demand is 140. There's no way to catch up. You know what I mean? And it's almost crazy when you look at it. It's like every single year, if there's, 70,000 being built and 150 on average moving here, unless you're building 150 a year, you're short every single year. And it just carries over. So that 70 is then 140 next year, and then 210, and then, right. And then it just keeps stacking.
Yeah, it's a snowball going the wrong way.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah. So Lucas, you're obviously someone who, having spent your career, or at least a portion of your career, listening to Tony and taking massive action, right? But I'm curious, the people that you meet along the way that are either struggling or just can't get going, what separates them from guys like you, and how do you virtually kick them in the pants to get going?
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny because this question is always asked, especially in our industry. And it's something when we were doing like events, it was always like, what's the difference? And the difference is there's nothing different between me, you, and somebody who just wants to get started. The difference is taking action. The
Right.
difference is putting in the work. The difference is how bad do you want it? Are you just saying that you want to be an entrepreneur, saying that you want to do real estate, and then not, taking the action steps to actually move the needle in that direction? But a lot of it comes down to what do you truly want? I mean, some people aren't meant to be entrepreneurs, and
Right.
that's totally fine. I have some friends that will do extremely well as salesmen. They're happy. They get home. They're not stressed. They make a good living. They can go on vacation. When they take a week off, they take a week off. They're not by their phones.
Right.
So there's some real benefits to being an employee. And if you're in the right job, the benefits that come along with it, it's awesome, right? But if you are that person who's, hey, I've always wanted to get into real estate, I don't know where to start. It's like, okay, what do you figure out what do you want to do? What excites you? Is it wholesale? I think wholesale is the easiest, quickest way to get into real estate, build relationships, and basically make quick cash, right? And that's how we started. We just wholesale. And then we put that money into fix and flips. And then we tried to turn, instead of making 10,000 or 20,000, it was like, how can we go do a flip and make 50 to 75 to 100, right? And then how can we go invest that however much we made over the last year into our own real estate? And then how can we go raise money to buy bigger real estate? So it's all just figuring out, okay, where do you want to start? And a lot of it starts from, you need to make some quick cash. If you don't have $50,000, you're not going to be able to go flip a $300,000 house and put, sure, you can use hard money, which we do, and maybe get 85% LTV, put 25 down, but then, you need another 35 to finish the rehab, plus you have holding cost. So, I mean, if you don't have 50 to 100 saved, you're probably not going to want to do fix and flips, right? So if you're trying to stack some cash, maybe it's wholesale, right? All you have to do is call some agents, build relationships, sell it to an investor like me, who's going to fix and flip the project and sell the piece of paper, right? It doesn't really cost much. It's one of our favorite business models. You know what I mean? I mean, it's we have a team that makes calls as well as me, and people send me deals. I take a look. We have a 5,000, investors here in the Valley that we'll send it out to. And that's it. We get paid in 14 days from putting up some EMD. So, I mean, it's really just figuring out, what do you want to do? Where do you want to start? And taking action that and stacking some capital to then do the stuff that you dream, where if it's fix and flip multifamily, but it's all taking action and learning first. The reason people don't take action is they just don't even understand it, and they don't put in the effort behind it to actually learn about the industry that they want to get into. They just say they want to be, they want to be real estate investors.
Right.
Okay, how many videos have you watched of people like Ed or people like Jerry Norton or Grant Cardone, who actively are doing it and teach you exactly how to do it, right? And give you the tools to go do it on your own, but you don't even take that first step to learn about it. And then the last step is taking action and going all in. So, I mean, it's really that simple. It's just taking action and truly wanting it, and truly actually, not just saying it, but actually doing it.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a common theme, from all the folks that I meet, is that, taking that action, taking that first step is, yes, it's probably the hardest thing you're going to do in your journey. Sure. But the second step's easier, and the third step's even easier. Right. Mm-hmm. And so, one of the things you mentioned is education. And, I'm a voracious reader. And so, I find that leaders tend to be readers, right? And readers these days doesn't necessarily mean a book on the nightstand, although it can. It can be audiobooks, it can be podcasts, it can be YouTube videos and all that. So, I'm curious, how do you consume information, and what kinds of things are you looking at? What are you reading these days or paying attention to?
I'm a lot of my focus. I love listening to podcasts. I do read a lot. I mean, I have a pretty cool bookshelf, and like you said, I don't have one book on my nightstand. I have a whole stack of 30.
Me too.
But I'm not gonna lie, I enjoy podcasts a little bit more. I'm more of kind of like a hear it. I don't mind. I like reading. I still read. I think it's really good for the brain. But my brain doesn't absorb as much of the things I'm reading. Whereas if I listen to it, I absorb better. Yep. So I like listening to, and I still listen to a lot of Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, Earl Nightingale, some even Dean, a lot of Grant, Bigger Pockets, right? I love listening to everything real estate, even the stock market. I'm still, I'm not a big investor in the stock market, but I enjoy, kind of learning about it and listening about it. I'm waiting for since all my eggs are really in real estate, I'm waiting for the big crash because there will be one, and I'm just gonna fucking just throw it. Sorry for just throwing a bunch of money in the stock market. That's kind of like the investor I am. Just wait for something bad to happen, and then that's when, because you can't lose if you just wait, But at the same time, I just don't want to put in my effort in the stock market where all my focus is really real estate. But yeah, I love listening to every type of podcast. A lot of private money books is what I'm kind of reading, like Private Money and You. So kind of focusing on raising capital, but everything by all those people, all those podcasts, I also have all their books too. So a lot of their books. But I like the podcast, honestly. Like I said, I learn better from hearing it.
Yeah, I find that I retain a lot more when I listen as opposed to just reading myself. It's because my challenge is, I think it's entrepreneurial ADD, right? It's it's I sit and I read, and all I'm thinking about is all the stuff I should be doing, right? And instead of actually comprehending and taking in the information, whereas with an audiobook or a podcast, I tend to be a little more focused and riveted by, that human to human interaction, even if it's virtual, right?
And that is so true. And it's so funny. No one's ever said that, but that is exactly what happens to me. I'm like reading and I'm like, shit, what do I got to do tomorrow? I'm like,
exactly.
Again, I just forgot. I don't even remember what I read in that page.
Right.
And that's an important thing. Like, don't, some people, like you said, right? All leaders are readers. Hell, you could say the same thing. All leaders listen to podcasts, right? Whatever is your best way to learn,
just find a way.
You're gonna absorb the most knowledge, do that, because the same information that you can get in that book is out there online on YouTube in podcast. So don't, everybody always says like, oh, some people will always, you don't read. Well, if you're listening to podcasts, it's basically the same thing. So whatever you learn the best and absorb the most, do that. Don't get stuck on, the other people. Oh, you're not reading a book a week. Dude, if you're learning from podcasts or YouTube, just learn. There's got to be a way where you're absorbing knowledge, and who cares where it's from.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're basically, whether it's a 30 or 40-minute podcast, or it's an audio book or a real book or something else, right? YouTube video, basically what you're doing is you're listening to someone's, 5, 6, 10-year life experience and how they went through the journey that they're on that's being described. And I mean, if you can learn that in 30 minutes, why wouldn't you? Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you're obviously well-read. You've obviously had a lot of mentors, and I'm curious, what's the best advice you ever got, and who gave it to you?
Oh, that's a good question. I've had so much good advice over the years. I feel like you and I are similar in the sense of like, we're just active learners. So we're always getting these golden nuggets. The best advice. Shit, that's tough. I've so much good advice over the years, but I would say, honestly, probably Dean gave me it. And what he said was, if you build it, they will not come.
Right.
And just because you build a really good product or a really good course, or, whatever the case is, or have this really good building, just because you build it doesn't mean they will not come, right? They're not just going to come just because you built this great product. You have to put it out there. You got to market it. You got to sell yourself. You got to sell other people on the idea, the product. There's so much else that comes after the fact of thinking of a good idea and implementing that good idea. And it was some of the best advice, because early on I was always like, oh, I'm just going to build this product and this funnel and it's going to work. And I'm like, okay, well, that didn't work.
That would be so cool if it actually worked that way.
Yeah, right. I would love it. How there'd be a lot more millionaires, that's for sure. But no, if you build it, they will not come, right? You have to get the information on top of just building the product to figure out, okay, how am I going to get this out to the world? Right. And it's like we talked earlier. I mean, that's how we were able to scale so fast. We had the idea, right? We built the business, say, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do just wholesale first, and then this. Okay, we did that. Now, how are they going to come? Right. That was the marketing we put into place.
Right.
So, it's great to have an idea. It's great to have that vision of what you're going to do, but just because you build it doesn't mean they're going to come. You got to learn marketing. You got to learn sales. You got to be able to sell not only yourself, but sell other people on the idea. And that's probably the best advice I've ever got.
Excellent. Well, and I appreciate the advice, because I'm gonna take that as well.
Yeah.
It's one of the cool things I have in this podcast is that I get advice from people like you, but I do it sneakily because I just ask the question, right? So let me ask you, when you're not doing real estate and conquering this part of the world, how do you spend your time? What do you like to do for fun?
Oh, big golfer.
Yep.
Golf
Live in the right place.
1 to 2 to 3 times a week, depending on kind of the week.
Yeah.
So love golf. Put in a lot of time and too much money into it. Honestly, it's one of the I could have a cheaper hobby. Go ride a bike or something. But
Right.
I love golf. I mean, it's the place I can shut off my brain. It
Yeah.
really is the only place where I'm like, okay, if I'm on the course, like business is gone, I have a couple of drinks, I'm with friends, and I'm
Mhm.
just out there having fun. So I really like golf because I can just shut off my mind. I love traveling, right? We have a place up in Pine Top. I go up to Pine Top. It's in the summer, it's 30 degrees cooler. It's only 3.5 hours away. I like to dirt bike, so I'll bring my dirt bike. I'll go freaking rip the trails. I'll go, explore. I'll go hike. I'll go fish. I just like getting outside, man. We're in the office a lot of the days, right? We're on the phone, we're talking to people, we're building relationships. I like my me time, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right?
Not a thing.
I'm like, I'm a big extrovert, but at the same time, I like my introvert time where I'm like, hey, I can just go golf, even if I like golfing with other people, but go doing my own thing and shutting off the world and just being out in the wilderness and just enjoying life and enjoying, me time.
Yeah, it's funny whether I'm playing with friends or I'm just hopping on a threesome to go
Yeah,
out. By the third hole, the world has kind of faded away, and you're just enjoying it, right?
yeah,
It's
exactly. No, I love it. You
Yeah,
a big
excellent.
golfer?
I have been a big golfer. I've been so busy that my game isn't what it used to. I've got to, and honestly, I've got to play like 15, 20 rounds a year. In Northeast, it's a little more difficult because of the weather, but until I get consistent, because right now the most consistent part of my game is the inconsistency of my game. So
Yeah, you got to change that.
yeah. So I got to move to Phoenix. Is what I got to do.
Yeah,
But
exactly. We'll
yeah.
play my golf there.
Absolutely. So hey, I've really enjoyed catching up with you and chatting here. And if someone wants to reach out and get to know you and maybe they've got a deal for you,
Mhm.
what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, the biggest I'm always on LinkedIn. I'm kind of going a little bit heavier because that's kind of where my clientele is.
Yeah.
So I'm going a lot more into LinkedIn. It's just Lucas Hauer, LucasHauer, Lucas Hauer. So LinkedIn is where I spend most of my time now and kind of the people that I want to associate with. I'm on Instagram. I don't really post. I mean, it's from 2 years, 3 years. It's nothing important on there. I don't really do much on there. My business partner is heavily on Instagram. So if you guys are on Instagram, follow Kyle Allen, Kyle Allen,
Okay.
Allen. Kyle Allen 12, I think it is. But he posts all the time on what we're doing on Instagram. So if you are on Instagram, follow my business partner, Kyle Allen. If you're on LinkedIn, follow me on just Lucas Hauer. But that's the best place to find me.
All right. Well, Lucas Hauer, thank you so much for your time today. It's truly been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I wish you well, man. I'll talk to you soon. But thanks for today.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Ed. One more thing too, if you
Sure.
ever want to listen to a cool audio book, The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. He was one of a
Okay.
motivational speaker in like the 20s.
Yeah.
But it's a 30-minute little section. You'll find it on YouTube is the best place. You can also find it on Spotify and stuff. But
Okay.
it's The Strangest Secret, Earl Nightingale. That is something I listen to almost every month, if not more than that.
Really? Okay.
And
It's that profound.
it's just what you think about. What you think about is what you become, right? So what you think
Yep.
about all day long is what you become. And you'll really get some powerful insight. Like I said, it's something I continue to listen to, but
Excellent.
really good little audiobook.
Well, it's rare that somebody comes up with a book that I haven't heard of, so I'm excited to listen to it. So
Good.
thank you. I
Incredible.
appreciate that.
Yeah. Shoot me a message and let me know what you think about it. You can listen to it. It's 30 minutes.
I'll
Quick
be
and
listening
easy.
to it today on the ride home.
I love
That's
it.
awesome. All right,
All
Lucas,
right.
thanks again.
Thank you,
It's
and I
been
really
great to see
appreciate
you.
it.
All right, be well. See you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.